So here's a question for you. Have you ever wondered if we're reading our most sacred, most important stories completely wrong? Today we're jumping into the work of the legendary mythologist Joseph Campbell. He had this incredible idea that the language of myth and religion isn't about historical facts at all, but about something way, way deeper. Let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get what Campbell was driving at, we have to start with a huge conflict in our modern world, especially when it comes to faith. And, he once told a story that just nails it perfectly. So get this. Campbell's on a book tour, doing a live radio show, and the host, who apparently saw himself as this tough former law student, hits him with that line right out of the gate. It wasn't even a question, really. It was an accusation. And that one single argument, is myth a metaphor or is it just a lie? Well, that took up the entire show.
Campbell's whole life's work was basically a response to that kind of thinking. For him, dismissing myth as just a falsehood was, it's like throwing away a treasure map because you don't believe in pirates. The value is in the map itself. You just have to know how to read it.
And this is pretty much where we're stuck today, right? You've got one side, the believers, who often take these ancient, beautiful metaphors and read them as literal historical facts. And of course, that puts them on a collision course with science. Then you have the other side, the atheists, who see that conflict and say, see, it's all lies. And they end up tossing out centuries of profound spiritual wisdom. Campbell's point? Both sides are getting it wrong. They're both missing the point. So how do we break this stalemate? Well, Campbell gives us the key. We have to rediscover what religious language was always meant to be. We have to understand the power of metaphor.
The word itself tells you everything you need to know. It's from the Greek metaphrein, which literally means to carry across. A metaphor isn't a lie. It's a vehicle. Its entire job is to take an idea from our concrete everyday world, something we can understand, and use it to carry us across to a transcendent truth that's otherwise, impossible to talk about. And here's how that works in practice. You start with the literal sign, the denotation. So for example, the promised land. Okay, that's a real place on a map. But that image, that's just the vehicle. It's meant to point you beyond that specific plot of land. Its real job is to take you to the connotation, the deeper truth. The promised land as a spiritual state of being, a place you can find inside yourself, right here, right now. Now, once you get this idea of metaphor, you start to see that myths were never meant to be history books or science textbooks. No way. They had a much, much bigger job to do, which Campbell neatly organized into 4 essential functions for living a full human life. I mean, just look at the scope of this. It's the whole shebang. It awakens a sense of pure wonder in you. It gives you a picture of the cosmos based on the science of the day. It helps ground your society with a moral code, and it acts as your personal guide from the day you're born until the day you die. Mythology was basically the original operating system for humanity. And this just reframes the entire debate, doesn't it? Campbell loved to point out the irony of astronauts reading the book of Genesis from orbit. I mean, think about it. They were thousands of miles above the highest heaven the original authors could have possibly imagined. The story wasn't wrong. We were just using it wrong. It's like we're trying to use a beautiful poem as a lab report. Campbell was convinced that all of these incredible mythological systems, no matter where they came from, if you read them correctly as metaphors, they are all ultimately pointing us toward one single, mind-blowing realization. These 3 little words from the ancient Sanskrit texts called the Upanishads. For Joseph Campbell, this phrase is the final destination of every great spiritual journey. Thou art that. It's the shocking realization that the divine, the ultimate reality, God, whatever you want to call it, it isn't something separate from you. It's not out there somewhere. It is the very essence of who and what you are. The consciousness that is powering the entire universe is the exact same consciousness that's looking through your eyes right now. And this is not just some philosophical idea to think about. As the philosopher Schopenhauer pointed out, this realization is the source of all true compassion. Why do you feel a pang of pain when you see someone else suffer? Because on the deepest possible level, their suffering is your own. Their skin isn't your skin, sure, but the consciousness, the being that is experiencing that pain, is one and the same. Okay, so what does this actually look like? How does this change things? Well, it leads to a totally new way of looking at all those religious symbols we thought we knew so well. This shift in perspective is everything.
The virgin birth stops being a one-time biological event in history and becomes a potential for a spiritual birth that can happen inside you. The promised land is no longer a piece of real estate to fight over, but a spiritual territory you can enter. And the end of the world? It's not some future catastrophe to be afraid of. It's a spiritual awakening that ends the world as you know it, right now. Which leads us to this incredible conclusion. The goal of the spiritual path isn't to get to a different place. It's not about going to heaven later. It's about realizing what is already and always right here within your own consciousness. The journey isn't outward, it's inward.
This line from the Legends of King Arthur just perfectly sums up the whole journey. In their quest for the ultimate truth, the Holy Grail, the knights didn't follow some paved highway. They couldn't. Each one had to enter the forest of the unknown alone, at the point that was darkest and most frightening for him. And really, that's what Campbell's work is all about. It's a call to adventure. It tells us the old maps are out of date if you read them literally. The real journey, the hero's journey, requires us to turn inward, to face our own unique darkness, and to discover for ourselves that single unifying truth: thou art that.